Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be checking out the recently released Miley Cyrus LP, Something Beautiful. And before we get started today, I just want to say if you want to see the full, unedited reaction to this LP, go ahead and check the description down below for $5 a month. You get all my videos unedited on my Patreon. Now, this video came out about a month ago, May 30th, and I'm a little late to the party with this one. However, I didn't initially plan on checking out this LP, given the fact that I have expressed in the past I am not a huge Miley Cyrus fan myself. However, in the comment section below, in my last, few videos, I have had many people asking me to react to this LP, saying that it is a very different direction for Miley Cyrus to take and one that I might enjoy myself. So I thought, everyone deserves a second chance, even though I'm not a huge fan of her vocals. Maybe they will grow on me with this one. Maybe this LP will be more up my alley. And maybe I will become a Miley Cyrus fan after all, because after all, I was not much of a fan of Stevie Wonder for many years until I gave a full run through for Songs in the Key of Life, believe it or not, even though he is such a legend. So at the end of the day, opinions change, and maybe for Miley Cyrus this will be the same kind of idea. And I do believe that as a music fan, we owe it to ourselves to always give musicians a second chance when it comes to trying to reinvent themselves or do something different. It's always worth checking them out again and maybe seeing if they're more up your alley. So without further ado, Something Beautiful. This has 13 tracks on it. It's 52 minutes. All I know about this is that it is heavily inspired by Pink Floyd's The Wall, a fantastic, brilliant record. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd. I've been covering their discography this year. So with that in mind, I'm very excited to see what Miley Cyrus does with that inspiration. But without further ado, let's get into the first track here, the Prelude. I'm expecting this to be, just the initial setup, as one would expect with a Prelude. Very hypnotic open. I like that. Almost kind of Western twang there.
When following an image from a tree, things that have already been dissolved into air.
Really setting the stage here. Very
Chasing the sun,
kind of cinematic.
Your skin feels warm.
There's strings.
But it can't be in the
Phasing the
world
synths.
has made alive. Like walking
It's like a saxophone buried under the mix there. Very just beautiful, and continuing that climax. Okay, a solid setup. Where is it gonna go? Let's find out into the first official track here, the title track, Something Beautiful. Wow, what a destructive, powerful, kind of anthemic track. Those drops, kind of massive in sound, clearly inspired by the likes of Pink Floyd. Very clear in its sound. Even this also caught my eye watching The Doves Cry. I wonder if it's a bit of a Prince shout out as well. I feel like Miley Cyrus really showing a lot of her influences here throughout the track, and honoring them in a way that doesn't feel, disrespectful in any way. It actually feels very much kind of in tune with their sort of element. A really great opening track, I would say. Very anthemic, very powerful. Love the drops on it. Let's go End of the World. Let's keep it going. I'm a little unsure on the production and the mix of things so far, but there's a lot of punch, that's for sure. I do like that. Very summery kind of beach tone here. Again, shouting out continually these rock stars that she's clearly trying to pay her respects to. Yeah, let's go down tomorrow was coming for sure. A very kind of sweet summery track so far, with a lot of punch. Oh, really like the "Sky is Falling" line there. I like the way it's kind of pushed to the background. Very complimented. Very dance-heavy track. Very beautiful, very sweet, uplifting track. Big fan of the big fan of the vocal arrangements, especially on this track. I feel like they are the highlight of the track is the vocal arrangements. Great layering. Very summery, a very sweet track that gives me strong ABBA vibes, actually. Maybe it's just that, bursting sort of atmosphere. Let's continue to the next track. I really liked End of the World. I thought that was a fantastic one. Here's More to Lose. So far with that first track and that track there, very kind of differing styles, which I enjoy. A nice varied kind of sound.
More I stay, the less I go. We're toe to toe, but I'm hanging on the wire.
I like her vocals a bit more clear here, a little bit more crisp. I guess my only complaint with the track Something Beautiful was I found the vocals were a little bit too kind of hushed out.
A movie star in a worn-out coat. Yeah, throw away my mind. And it happens all the time.
I like her vocals on this one actually quite a bit.
I'll stay when the ecstasy is far away.
Very emotional in tone.
I pray that it's coming around again. Or lose.
I'm gonna give this a quick pause and say this might be, at least the lead up here, this might be my favorite track on the LP. It's giving me, again, I'm not sure why I'm getting certain influences. I can't really describe why, but this is really reminding me, especially vocally and the melodies, like Elton John, especially her vocals and the way she's performing.
The TV's on, but I don't know. My tears are streaming.
That sense of emotion coming out. A shimmery sax there, I think, in the back. Pushing it, but not overblown. Oh, and here's that sax that's been teasing us all along. Oh, and that drum cycling around. Wow. A very full emotional sort of track here. I feel like her emotion with this heartbreak is coming on strong. It's very delicate in nature with its strength. Probably her best vocal performance on the LP so far. Maybe I just prefer the more dialed back approach she's going for here. But I really like the saxophone as well and the drum work. As for who is responsible for the sax and the drums, I mean, looking at the personnel here, I can't quite make heads or tails of who's doing what here. It is a massive list of credentials. But I gotta say, whoever is responsible for that sax, whoever's responsible for the drum work, just doing a fantastic job. Sounds great. Really complimentive to the style. Very laid back, very emotional. That sax kind of remind me of Careless Whisper by George Michael specifically. Very emotional, and definitely kind of hones in on that sort of time and sound. Also reminds me a lot of Elton John vocally. Just a great track. Probably my favorite of the batch that we've heard so far, which might be surprising to some, but I really enjoy the kind of heartbreak that she's bringing out in that. It feels very palpable, I would say, in her performance. Here is Interlude 1. With track 3, she was full of love, full of summery vibes. Track 4, Had to Let It All Go. And now we're in a very hazy kind of lounge or something. Not sure what that was, but oh, it's back. Very kind of hypnotic kind of melodies on this LP too. I like that one. Just a quick one as we segue into Easy Lover. Oh, and it's very cool. It's very laid back. A lot of confidence coming through.
Baby, you're the only one. You drive me crazy. But you're not an easy lover.
Love the very deep kind of funky bass lines we're getting on this track. Once again, feeling very confident, and of course Miley coming in here vocally sounding just as confident as that bass line. A really great track so far. I will say I'm not sure what the narrative of the album is, if there is one. I don't want to be too concrete in that idea, given the fact that I know it's influenced and inspired by The Wall by Pink Floyd, but I'm not sure if she is going for a full kind of narrative approach. So we're just going to take tracks as they are. But we've got another track where she is head over heels, full of love, towards somebody who is clearly maybe not the best match in terms of maybe morals.
You're a wildfire.
Maybe a bit of a bad boy.
Let it burn.
If there is a narrative, maybe this is like a rebound sort of idea. Dial it back here. A very repetitive track, I'll say that. Maybe the biggest complaint so far I could have. Unsure about that one. I will say I feel like the lyrics especially quite repetitive. I know she's trying to go for this often kind of hypnotic sort of cyclical sound on some of these tracks, but that one, it just felt like it was too much repetition in the way of a good track. That being said, I do like the confidence. I like the energy. I love the deep sort of funky tones that we're getting on that one. Again, channeling a lot of different influences from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I feel like more so 80s, it feels like, with that track especially. Just has that kind of edgy sort of night vibe to it. Here's Interlude 2. I feel like that last one could even be partially inspired by Michael Jackson. I like these interludes instrumentally, production wise. They're very like kind of futuristic in tone. Very kind of interesting, diverse palettes to explore on these interludes. Okay. Like I said, I love the futuristic tones of that one. Here's Golden Burning Sun.
I'll tell everyone you're the only one I want. Can I have you if I never let you down?
Seems like the themes of love are
You're
the main themes, at least.
under the golden
Perhaps trying to
burning sun.
let go of a failing relationship.
Can I have you if I never let you down? I know we're young, but we're growing up. We go swimming.
I find at times you could still hear the kind of country twang in her voice that she still brings to the table. And even instrumentally, this one feels almost like an alt country track. Kind of remind me of Emmylou Harris's Wrecking Ball.
In the water, and have dinner with your father. I close
Love how varied this LP is, I'll say that.
You're the only one, but they won't ever catch up if we're running. I know we're young, but
I love how, like, distant a lot of the mix feels on this one. It's very hazy, this atmosphere.
get higher than these mountains.
Almost like everything is just out of reach.
Close your eyes, can't you see it now? You're the only one under the golden surrender.
Getting quite ethereal here, even more out of reach, even more spacey. I feel like we are ascending to the heavens with this track. That's a solid track. I like the structure of the track, very multi-structured, lots of different phases to it. And I love the haziness to all of it. Still has that country DNA that I feel is very much part of Miley Cyrus. And reminiscent, for me at least, of Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris. Which, kind of funny given the Wrecking Ball track from Miley Cyrus. No correlation whatsoever to Emmylou Harris as far as I know. But I will say instrumentally, vocally, lyrically even, that kind of remind me of that 90s LP from Emmylou. So really liked what I was hearing there too. Walk of Fame, let's keep it going. A lot of different styles is really the main takeaway I'm getting from this LP. I know she said it's heavily influenced from The Wall, but I am just getting a slew of influences throughout this thing. You know, and I think for the most part she is pulling it off. This one with Brittany Howard. Kind of punchy and kind of disco is what we're getting here. This is what I mean, like so many styles. Every track I feel like I'm saying a different genre from the last.
Every day, every night, it's all the same.
This funky bass line,
Hungry 'cause I'm
quite bouncy.
calling out my name. Ooh, yeah, it's a walk of fame. And through the tears, I can see it so clear. Walk away.
Even though this might be one of the poppiest tracks so far, it's also one of the funkiest and most fun tracks so far. Really loving just the heavy kind of funky discos kind of bass sound that we're getting on here. Love the delivery of this chorus, especially. At first, I was not feeling the chorus, to be honest, the first time it came around. But here, I'm really liking the way that she delivers the track, the line specifically, kind of matching the melody in such a way that feels very punchy and very blunt and catchy above all else.
You walk away, walk away.
This is a real banger of a track, let's be honest here. Oh, love the layering on this track especially too. Everything is so dense but clear. Oh, like even this, another segue into a completely different section. Fantastic, and dare I say, a little Daft Punky. This is a fantastic track, easily one of the best on the LP. We're elevating things higher here to maybe outro the track. I also love this spoken word passage here. Is this Brittany Howard here? Oh, it's gotta be. So futuristic with that effect on her vocal. Wow. 6 minutes. Quite a mammoth of a track. The longest track on the record so far at 6 minutes. The longest track in general on the LP. And for good reason. It channels a very heavy sort of disco sound, and in suit kind of follows the kind of lengthy disco tracks of the 70s in a way. Just love the continual kind of exploring of its sound throughout that track, changing the structure constantly. That spoken word passage was fantastic. Brittany Howard provided a great sort of outro, and I think was even in some of the backing vocals throughout that track, adding a nice sort of contrast to Miley Cyrus's vocals. Just a great track. Loved how punchy it was. Loved how danceable it was. Super disco. Probably the best track on here. But I feel like there's a couple of tracks that I could point out as being some of the best, whether it be More to Lose or this last track here, Walk of Fame, or even Golden Bird Song. I thought was fantastic. Just a fantastic batch of tracks so far. Can't even speak here. Here's Pretend You're God. I feel like that last one had very much like an ending feel to it, very finale-like finish. So wonder how it's gonna continue to evolve.
If you don't, oh, do you still love me? I gotta know.
Love how clear and crisp those drums are.
Pretend it's your God. Break the stars for me one by one. I'll give you what you
Really enjoying the sort of hushed vocal delivery as well here, kind of pushed to the background. Again, reminding me of Emmylou Harris's Wrecking Ball for some reason. I think it's just a very ethereal, spacey vibe that she's going for on some of these tracks.
pretend that you're God all night long. Wake up if you're gone. Still love me.
God, our bass player throughout this record is just killing it on these tracks.
Just keep it quiet if you don't. Oh, do you still love me? That you're God all night long.
Oh, there's some sort of twisted horn there, just blaring. Very heavenly. This era.
I'm haunted. I'm haunted. He's missing.
Her vocals here are fantastic. Wow. Oh my god. So punchy with the mix. Very confident in the sound. Another great one that really, again, utilizes atmosphere like much of these tracks in a way that is very dense, very beautiful, and very heavenly. But a lot of pain throughout this track, especially in that haunted passage. Love the vocals there that she delivered. Let's go into Every Girl You've Ever Loved featuring Naomi Campbell. And there's our sax player once again coming through.
That you're still holding out on me like a dog in the street.
Oh! God. I feel like we are going full 80s at this point in this track. Just diving into that kind of retro sound.
She has the perfect sense.
Oh my god. Also getting like strong Madonna vibes as well. Shout out Madonna on this track. Like,
She speaks the perfect French.
impeccable. God. That sax. Even that sax being held in the dark here. Clearly she wants to be in the limelight. She wants to be in the spotlight. She wants to be, put on display with her lover here. But clearly isn't given that sense of respect.
She speaks the perfect French.
I love that hushed delivery, the spoken word. Little transition
She
here.
never wears a watch. Still,
Oh.
she's never late.
Here's Naomi.
She's got that kind of grace. Did Botticelli paint her face? She has the perfect scent. She speaks the perfect French. She can dance the
She's
night
the
away.
perfect
And she'll
woman.
Never break a sweat. Pose. Pose.
I love this edition of Naomi here.
Pose.
Really adds that kind of bad bitch energy, that flair. Also, these strings. Very theatrical and cinematic. Those backing vocals buried. This might be one of the best tracks too. Oh my god. This outro. Give me more of this.
Come on now. You come on.
Wow. This is a very incredible, consistent record. The second half of this record is really just killing it, track after track. Every Girl You've Ever Loved, once again, quite possibly the best track here. Both features killing it too. Brittany Howard and Naomi Campbell, just two features on the LP. who I feel like bring a lot to the tracks that they're in. I feel like they add a lot of energy, a lot of attitude, a lot of flair. And Naomi, an incredible outro from her. And I loved her short spoken word verse. Wow. Reborn. This album continually improves actually as the track list goes on. Maybe more of a backloaded record, which is saying a lot considering how powerful the title track was.
Would you promise that I'm enough? If I give you all of my love.
Love the whole disco energy we're getting on this record.
Kill my ego. Let's be reborn. Let's be reborn.
This sort of like, new era of disco we've been getting the last few years. Jessie Ware, for example, did it quite well. Miley Cyrus here, I feel like really bringing it back as well into the mainstream. I love it. I love this whole new era of disco. It feels like it is taking a lot from the 70s and early 80s era and adding a whole new kind of layer and life to it that feels just as honorable, but still very unique, very modern, and also quite futuristic. And needed. Definitely needed for the time we're living in.
We both run away forever. Never coming home.
I feel like this track, it does bring things down from the last high of the last track, but still has that same sense of kind of hypnotic disco nature. And Reborn is right for Cyrus here. Oh. Like the spotlight feels so bright in this track. Love how vivid the mix is as well in this one. A lot of these tracks really feels like Miley here is kind of pouring her heart out to this person and maybe not getting the same treatment in return. I like this little bit of acoustic coming in. Will it segue, I wonder, into the next track, Give Me Love. Ugh. I love a good transition. And this one dialing it back down to some nice acoustics. Love how sweet and gentle this one is so far.
I imagine a place at the dawn of creation, a cityscape we paint in the dark. Give me love, give me love, give me love.
Love how light and airy this track is. The last few tracks, very dense in their mix. This one, a little bit more sparse. And the instruments that are there, acoustic, and it sounds like a flute as well. Very light and airy. Kind of feels like it shakes things up a little bit and kind of takes a bit of a weight off your shoulders.
Somewhere between the old St. John
And again, very sweet and full of love.
Cathedral, swans from the lake.
Like that little flittery sort of
There's a tower that's made
flute, I think it was.
for shade. Give me love, give me
A simple
love, give me love.
yet effective chorus here.
Give me love, give me love, give me love.
Kind of wavery in tone.
So I say my goodbyes to the earthly delights while my
Love the-
perfect Eden goes down in flames.
Love the religious imagery in the lyrics on this track especially. Very poetic.
Eaten alive
This is an incredible passage. Wow. Is that the final track on the record? That's it, eh? What a closer. Damn. What a beautiful, light, sweet closing track that was. Didn't even realize we had reached the end. I thought we had one more track after this. But just like that, it's over. And Gimme Love is a beautiful closer. Honestly, I thought, Walk of Fame would have been a good closer given how just massive in scale it feels. Yet Gimme Love kind of feels like a contrast to that. Feels much smaller in scale. Feels very nice and light to kind of end things on after such a dense display of arrangements throughout the record. Just a great finish to the LP. And kind of ends the kind of narrative, or I guess loose themes of love here, continuing to kind of maybe beg for a love after maybe some spiritual healing throughout the record. I can't speak too much if there is a narrative, so we'll leave that as it is. I liked a lot of the lyrical passages, especially that last one. I think this is an incredible way to finish the record with this very dense sort of religious imagery throughout the track. And I gotta say, all in all, as after we get past the interludes and we get to this whole final section of the record, it is just track after track after track of, I would say, some of Miley's best work I have ever heard. Absolutely impeccable. Some of the best pop music, if you want to label it as such, this year. This might be the best pop record of the year if we are calling it a pop album, considering there is a plethora of different sounds here. We've got disco, we've got funk, we've got R&B, we have a bit of a country twang on some of these tracks. We of course have some prog rock as well. I guess you would label it prog if she's trying to emulate Pink Floyd. Maybe it's just more 70s rock on Something Beautiful. A great record. I'm kind of at a loss for words to really say too much about this, but I will say, before today, before listening, I had expressed not being a fan of Miley Cyrus's in the past. I think when I heard her on the Beyonce album Cowboy Carter, I had said in that video that I'm not a fan of Miley Cyrus, especially when it comes to her vocals. She has never been one I have been a fan of. However, I have been corrected here. Something Beautiful is Something Beautiful. Let's be honest. It is a massive record that really just kind of encompasses a huge array of different artists and influences in a way that feels very refreshing, unique, and honestly very powerful. Loved the disco, especially as we really dug into it deeper as the record continued on. My only complaint for the record, really, is I thought some of the mixing on some of these tracks was a little bit too sort of claustrophobic at times, maybe a bit too kind of squished together. But that can't be said for all the tracks. There are some tracks here, especially I would say Walk of Fame as well as Every Girl You've Ever Loved, that production-wise were incredibly dynamic and beautiful. So I think it's just a couple of the tracks that felt like a bit too much. I actually think the title track, production-wise, was a little bit, in my opinion, too kind of messy and kind of smushed together at times and a bit too claustrophobic. But even aside from that, this record is pretty well produced and very sharp and dynamic. And I would say that the worst track here is Easy Lover. If I had to remove a track, it would be Easy Lover. The interludes certainly work as a nice sort of kind of palate cleanser at times and really kind of showcases maybe the dynamic sound of the production and the futuristic tones of the record. But, if you were to remove Easy Lover, I guess the interludes would have to be rearranged in the track list. But aside from Easy Lover, I thought this thing was fantastic. And like I said, this might actually be the best pop record of the year. And I feel like we've had some incredible pop albums, especially from artists who I think were, past their prime in a lot of people's opinion. Miley Cyrus, Lady Gaga, even I would say The Weeknd dropping Hurry Up Tomorrow. We have a lot of great pop records this year, but Something Beautiful is certainly possibly the best of the best that we've heard this year from our past decade of pop artists. Just great. I stand corrected on what I've said about Miley Cyrus, and I am very glad I gave this a listen. I'm very glad I had the viewers such as yourselves to suggest this one in my past, month or so of videos I've been doing. So a really great record, and one I will definitely be further exploring, especially for the great disco charm in that back half. But that does it for today's video. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along in listening to more albums alongside myself. Check out the Patreon down below in the description. For $5 a month, you get all my videos unedited, including this one and every other video I have done this year. As always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.